So our most recent graduate with a spring 2020 graduation is Maya Taylor. Maya is graduated with her master's in the urban and regional planning department back in May. So we're super excited to have her. Going back to December of 2019, Christopher Holder, who just joined us, he got his bachelor's in computer science back in fall 2019, and before that, back in spring 2019, Tammy Quiney, she received her master's in the college that I received my master's education, the instructional systems in learning technology program. So we're very excited to have all of them today. I will be sort of monitoring your questions in the chat. We were going to kind of save questions till the end, so that if we have time at the end, Lee's going to be handling the questions to the panelists, and the panelists will give you insight on their experience. And thank you all again.
Excellent. Thank you, Jared. Before we get started today, I want to first say thank you to our panelists for being here. It's wonderful that you're able to find time to come and sort of say yes to our call or email and be able to share some of the journey that you went through to get that employment opportunity. And so we heard a little bit about you from Jared, but as we kick things off, I always like to keep it a little light and try to get us going with something fun. So Christopher, Tammy, and Maya, in that order, I would love for you all to share with us something that you missed about campus and just being in Tallahassee. You want to kick us off, Christopher?
Sure. So the things that currently I'm in Tallahassee, so I can still see the campus from now and then. But if there is something that is certainly pertinent to just job pursuit in general, something I miss about the campus is probably that for example, especially when it comes to networking and just growing opportunities to meeting people. Usually, when you're in college, you most likely reach people at an earlier stage in their life in which they're just friends of yours, but you in the end you really never know who they're going to become. And I think that it's certainly different how you approach the problem of asking someone a recommendation or for employment advice when you meet people later on in a national company. It's sometimes like I feel it's clearer that when you're a senior and you're in a company, you have like a secondary interest in asking someone else for help when it comes to employment stuff and just the opportunity of meeting people earlier on, like when you actually become friends without how we call it without any side thing, without any like external purpose, is something that was very cool. Like just meeting new people, like you just never know. You just never know how many things can change in your world just by saying hi to someone.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think part of being on campus, we're all sort of the many events, that we have going on and all these different opportunities. And sometimes without even knowing what was going on intentionally walking into a building, we saw maybe an employer tabling, maybe there was a career fair happening. And so those sort of like, you stumble into some of those opportunities and connected that way. Chris, I wanted to quickly mention that it was a little bit difficult for me to hear you. I don't know if it was just me. So I don't know if you want to just check a little bit on your mic as well. Did anybody else have a little bit of an issue with the sound, or maybe it was just me?
Yeah, I could hear a little bit of sort of static a little bit there.
What about now? Is it better? Or is it like
still the same? Yeah. It's almost like every time you do that. And so while Chris figures that out, Tammy, what is something that you miss about campus?
Well, thank you for that question, Lee. Firstly, let me say thank you so much for having me as part of the panel. For me, it's an honor to be a part of FSU, and it always will be. And I'm very, very proud to be a Nole. Go Noles, football or no football. So coming back to the question that you asked me, something that I miss about campus was definitely searching for parking space. Spending hours and hours of my time just searching for parking space. And sometimes even getting late for my classes only because I'm doing that. But in addition to that, well, also interacting with the faculty and the students, because all the time they always, and they still always have time to talk to me. And that's something I so miss being a part of. And also walking in our beautiful campus. It's such a pleasure to walk in our beautiful campus. So there are so many things which are non-study related that I miss.
Definitely, yes. And believe it or not, I finding parking. I think it's a skill that comes very much handy later on in your adult, as you continue life as well. It's finding parking in a parking lot now, becomes, easy. You learn some of those strategies from FSU times. So
right. And I don't think there should be any parking issues now.
Yeah, I heard for students no, but for faculty and staff, there's still, depending on where you want to park, there's still some issues there. But I think it's just part of sort of that FSU experience. Thank you for being here. Maya, we'll pass it on to you.
Sure, thanks. Thank you for having me as well. I think I definitely miss seeing my friends every day in one place. We graduated in May, and we're the first class to kind of graduate virtually. It was kind of and to finish a degree, to graduate online. But that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Yes, those interactions and those face-to-face connections, are definitely dearly missed. But we all hope that you continue to connect virtually. The Center for Global Engagement continues to put on those virtual coffee hours. I hope that you're making time to go into open spaces and socially distance, but at least get to be sometimes outdoor and get to connect with some of the friends. But yes, those wonderful memories and friendships that we make on campus as we graduate, we take with us, we hold those dearly as well. But thank you for sharing that. As the coronavirus hit the United States, hit many, the world, we saw how that affected all processes, not only in terms of our university, but also how employers then were approaching different internship opportunities, different employment opportunities. And so for international students, and this is one of the reasons why we brought this panelists together, then it became even more strategic, or it became more important than ever to be very intentional about the different resources, to be more intentional about how do we approach different companies. And so I want to once again say to Chris, to Tammy and Maya, we really appreciate you being here, because you were able to secure different opportunities in your journey. And again, thank you for sharing that with us this afternoon. With that, my first question and I'm going to start with Tammy. Tammy, as you were gaining or planning to go about job searching, how did you plan that? Was there a process that you follow? Tell us a little bit about how did you come up with the plan to then execute for your job search?
Thank you, Lee. So what I did was, firstly, a lot of research. Research. That was one. Secondly, I attended every single job fair possible, even if it was unrelated to my field. And the only reason I did so was so I could get an exposure to what US employers are looking for in their employees. And it didn't matter if it was on the job fair was in a weekend, weekday. I somehow navigated through that. But I wanted to get an exposure to the US companies and US employers. So I would be there throughout the job fair from the start to the end, only to understand what is it exactly that they're looking for. In addition to that, thirdly, I also prepared like an Excel sheet of some of the best jobs in the country. Um, However, I had to narrow it down at some point in time, and it I narrowed it down to such a way that it was related to the jobs that were best suited to my profession and where I believe I would be the best fit. And it is like a win-win situation. How would the employer see me as the best fit? What are they looking for? And what am I looking for? I just can't blindly enter a job just because I need a job. Well, it's all about a win-win situation. What can I offer the employer and what can the employer offer me? So um, if we're just looking at, let's take any and every job, well, you can get any and every job, but would you last in that particular job? Would you be satisfied? And most above everything else, would you be happy in that particular job?
Thank you. Yes. And I love, coming from the career center, I love the fact that you attended every career fair just to get that exposure, practice your networking skills. So when it counts and you're in front of that employer who you want to impress, then it comes very naturally. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. What about you, Maya?
So similar to Tammy, actually, I had an Excel spreadsheet of locations, companies, potential positions that I was interested in. And then I also spoke to my professors and the students in the year ahead of me about those opportunities. And I asked them what they knew about the companies, their experience either working for those companies or being an intern there. And that helped me narrow down my search as well to companies that would be interested in hiring an international graduate, because we all know that that can be challenging. And then I also attended a few job fairs, and I found that was helpful for me just to kind of get a sense of how different US employment is from what I'm used to coming from Barbados.
That's a great point, and I love that. What is and Hania just asked a really good question, and we'll circle back to it in a minute. And so with that, can you share, Maya, for example, a difference that you notice with employers in Barbados as well as, in contrast to the United States employers or American employers?
Sure. Well, I think in Barbados, maybe because I'm a Barbadian, everyone was kind of interested in giving me a chance just after looking at my resume. But in the States, without US work experience, it was really difficult to even get my foot in the door. And so securing an internship before looking for permanent employment, I think was a great step.
Excellent. Thank you. That's a great contrast. Yes, we see that American employers, more than ever, they continue to seek those skills, those experiences on students' resume, and they can be paid or unpaid opportunities. And if you have not had a chance to have internships, then you could also work with your career liaison or somebody in the career center. So we can also look at projects that you might have done in class that can be also added to your resume. But Chris, why don't you share those, did you have a plan and how did you come up with finding that job that you were looking for?
Okay, so at least I first addressed the two very accurate messages of both Tammy and Maya. For Tammy, that basically that is true that you need to expose yourself to the market to see how the job market values you. So whenever in the beginning, when I would go to a STEM fair and the place would be packed and there would be probably 50 people in the line to meet the one Amazon recruiter. Like even if you think that the Amazon recruiter is just going to throw away your resume, just to have his input of what does he honestly like thinks your flaws are. I think the more criticism that you get of the actual companies you want to be in, like the closest you can be to becoming their ideal candidate. I think that is very true. And also what Maya said about U.S. companies usually preferring for you to have a U.S. experience. That is something very important. And I think the only way that in the end you have to, you can have to circumvent that is through internship experience, most likely, or if it's not internship experience, just having the ability of working like within your faculty as an RA or a TA. I think that's also very helpful. And even though I was not either an RA or a TA, I had friends who have, and that was very helpful for them in their job search. So when it comes to a specific plan, and I guess also to give a bit more info on what do I do and what I've done. So yeah, as Jared said, I graduated CS in December 2019. So currently I work for a company called Brand Information Systems as an automation engineer, and I basically write code to test websites that they're working well. And as my internship experience, I was a software engineer at Facebook in the summer of 2019. So my plan, at least when it comes to internships, I think that you need at least to do it 6 months in advance, at least, because what most people don't realize, and they usually wait. A lot of people just wait until the spring before, until spring to do it. But sometimes even the interview process of like at every round can have so much time in between that it has happened that you just get passed along, like the whole summer passes and you never actually start. So again, timing 6 months in advance. So what Tammy said, which is basically measuring yourself against the job market. How does an ideal candidate look like? And also one that is very important, and I think that depends on specifically how your field is. We need to remember that different fields interview very differently. For example, while me joining on Facebook, I had no interview, and I did many rounds. There was not a single interview in which they asked me a classical question like, "Oh, like, how do you feel about the company? Would you like to work for us?" No, it was very practical and technical and straight to the point, and just having other people that you can ask, "Oh, like, how's the interview structure for this company? Like, how does like just being able to manage your time in a way in which, besides doing your classes, you prepare to the interviews. I think it's a key thing. But to be honest, I think that's pretty much my plan. Just plan in advance and send. Well, I guess this is important. Sorry if I'm just here ranting. Just cut me short. But
No,
these are.
You're doing great.
This is amazing.
Yeah. So these are. I think this was very helpful to me, and I think I should have done this even earlier. And I wish someone had told me this. So far, and I've interviewed at many places, and all my friends have, and we converse about it. From weakest to strongest, the three best ways to get interviews. So number 3, actually. So many companies have like their own website where you apply and you give them your info, you upload your resume there, and you just hope that maybe that at least maybe in the next couple of months they answer. But a more direct one, and that I've seen that has more success, is just find the recruiters of that company on LinkedIn and email them directly, and find each and every one of them and bother all of them if you have to. So besides that, which I'd say, like, out of the 3, like, that's the weakest. The second, which I think is better than email them, is live events. I mean, I think many people, like considerable amount of people, get their jobs through, get their first interviews through live events. Yeah, so such like the STEM fair, like just being able to interact with the recruiter directly. I think if especially in hard times where we know the way companies hire is different, and I guess this was better for a non-coronavirus time. But like if you're looking for a job, and for example, like, I think the STEM fair is fantastic, and a lot of my friends had opportunities through it. Unless you're doing like an exam, like you just never know what you'd be able to get by just trying and going to the actual fair. And I guess for me, the most effective thing to get an interview has been through direct recommendation of someone at the company. So many companies have the policies where if they refer someone else and that person actually ends in the company, they will be given a bonus. So you can even try to reach people in LinkedIn who you don't necessarily know, and talk to them about your skills, about what you do at your current college, what your goals are for a company, and you might get a recommendation. And more often than not, the internal policy of those companies is, if someone works here gives a recommendation, at least will give this person opportunity for the first round. I think those three things would be very helpful for anyone who doesn't know them, because people who get the jobs are doing them.
Thank you. Thank you, Chris. And for the audience, can you repeat one more time your major and what degree you got from Florida State?
So I got a Bachelor of Science in Computer Science.
Tammy, I'm going to ask you to share again for the audience your major and what degree you got from Florida State. But I'm also going to ask you to answer what on-campus resources do you utilize in your job search? What were some of those offices or maybe online resources that you saw yourself going or referencing during your job search?
Surely. So my major was in instructional systems and learning technologies. So I got a master in science in that. And regarding the on-campus resources, the Career Center, I believe, provides great resources. And I think there are so many resources on the career website, the Career Center website, including how to prepare a resume, what type of clothes you need to wear for an interview. You know, I even handed them over my resume, and they took a look at my resume and told me what are the things that are required on my resume and what are the things that I could do away on my resume. So I think the Career Center gave me great advice, and I think it has some of the great, really handy resources to look out for in terms of how to prepare a resume and how to write a cover letter, and and how to navigate the resources also. So I believe the Career Center has some really good resources.
Thank you, Tammy. Maya, Chris mentioned attending career fairs and events. Tammy mentioned going to the Career Center, which I so appreciate you mentioning that. Are there any other resources on campus that you utilize that come to mind now? And if you could also share again your major, that would be phenomenal.
Sure. My major was in urban and regional planning, and I received a Master of Science. I didn't use any other resources, but I will say one that I used that Tammy didn't mention from the Career Center, and that was the mock interview process. So I scheduled a phone mock interview back in March, I think, and the questions that were asked in that interview were so similar to the questions asked in my job interview that it was extremely helpful.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to what Maya said. I completely agree with you, Maya. So the Career Center does provide all of that, and I believe you know, even when you go to job fairs, I got everybody's contacts at the job fair. I reached out to every one of them, so they may not have the job that you're looking for, but somebody they know could probably have the job that you're looking for. So it's not necessary that you're going to get the job that you're looking for at a career fair, but it's probably their networks, and their networks probably have the job that you're looking out for. So I believe at the end of the day, it's also about really good networking skills.
Thank you. Chris, Tammy, and Maya, as you were applying and going to events, how many companies do you think you applied to, or you at least reached out via LinkedIn to get opportunities or inquire about opportunities before you started hearing back, or when you got that solid lead that then led you to apply?
You can go first if you. I guess I'll go first. So that is a good question, because the thing is that my policy was that regardless of whether I would get another interview or I would get a job offer, I would just never stop applying. Like even while on the job, because I think it's always about trading up. Even if the first offer you receive is not a very good one, it's usually better than not having an offer. And it's just it's basically trading up. But so I mean, if you want to ask me like a total, like for example, I guess for the I guess this may sound excessive, but I would I would usually apply to a like per day. At least I would send at least I would go to the company websites or just through emails I would get. Uh, I guess for a good couple of months I would try to do at least minimum 10 a day, which is I guess a number.
Thank
I
you.
agree with what Chris mentioned earlier too. What he mentioned, it's all about networking. It's also about never giving up and always applying and looking out for the job that you think is the best for you. So even if you think you have, like for example, they've called you for an interview, you've got the first round, second round, third round under your belt. I believe it's also going out there and giving even more interviews. You never know what you could get out there. So you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I kept applying to multiple jobs. So it is all about you gaining rather than them gaining.
I love that. Maya, anything to add?
I agree with Tammy and Christopher completely. I really don't remember how many jobs I applied to, but I ended up getting my current job because my professor called me and told me about an opportunity, and he suggested that I call the office manager in Tallahassee and just tell them I was interested, which is really forward for me. I'm not a very forward person, but I took his advice and she pulled my resume and went through it and then invited me for an interview.
I'd also like to add to that. So the department that I studied in, which is instructional systems and learning technologies, has a fabulous alumni, and that alumni has constantly has job postings, and every week there'll be at least 2 to 3 job postings, if not more, until date. So if they don't know somebody, if the job is not meant for you, they will look out or get you connected with somebody who probably has a job, that is probably meant for you. So um, I believe my department, instructional systems and learning technologies, also played a very vital part in, um, actually helping me with all these resources.
Excellent. Thank you. And so one last thing, as we continue in this sort of topic, what what is the biggest lesson you learned during this process, before you got that job or that position you were looking for? What was that thing that you went back and said, I wish I would have done things differently, or definitely moving forward I will do this differently? What will that be? So as new students are looking for these opportunities, to learn from some of those insights as well as those lessons that you went through.
Well, I believe, firstly, never give up. Secondly, have a plan and have a backup plan. And thirdly, keep safety nets. And what I believe is there is, if you have something like a portfolio, that is very, very helpful. Any kind of work that you've done, it does, like for example, any kind of project that you've done in during your assignments, you can talk about them and what was the outcome of those projects, and you can convert that into real time experience and highlight that in your resume. So let's not think of assignments that we do in class of just assignments, but you can actually use them as plans that you have developed, and that you can bring forward to your new job.
Thank you.
Well, at least as a biggest lesson, I think I would have considered more, and I think this is just important in general for a job search, I think you need to learn to differentiate yourself, and I need to um, I think you need to. I think you need to try to learn how you can make your skills, or who you are, different than the rest of other hundreds of people who are applying to the same position. And I think, for example, things as your class selection, what elective do you take, what type of experience do you go to? I think things are easier when yours are when yours are unique, and that is something that I would definitely have changed in the past, at least within my field. I went for for the most mainstream thing that everybody does, and when that happens, I think competition gets tougher. And the other thing, for example, and I think it may be relevant to it. So for a long time, for a long time, I think I put too much high steam towards the concept of a GPA. During my first years, it would matter to me a lot. I would try to maximize my grades as much as possible, which in principle is not bad, especially if what you look for is to go into academia. That is especially good. But I realized through applying and to real life that and this was especially relevant to me when for example, I lowered my grades because I had to dedicate a considerable time to study for my engineering interviews. That differences in GPA are not as marked or as strong as the difference that people have in experience when it comes to landing a job. Like it's like 2, 3, or 4 decimals of your GPA are not going to be as significant as someone who has an internship at a good place, or even one internship versus not having one. And that is something I would certainly reconsider.
Great insight on that. And I think sometimes when we come, depending on the country where we come from and some of the cultures, there's such a high steam, and the priority tends to be that GPA, because in other job markets, that's something that is seen very importantly as applicants come through their processes. But the more we look into the strategies of what American companies are looking for, they are going to also place high value into the experiences, into how you engage with them, into how much you can add to the companies. We hear about this fit, but we're also hearing about what else are you adding to the company when we think about diversity and inclusion. And it's not just in terms of some of the more physical aspects of what diversity and inclusion is, but also it comes when it's about different thoughts, different experiences, and what innovation you can bring with that as well. But thank you for that really good point, Chris. Maya, anything else to add?
I think I wish that I had kind of narrowed my focus on what type of planning I wanted to do earlier on. And that would have allowed me to find mentors earlier who could have helped me in the process of looking for a job. Um, because I think by not having a narrow focus, I was just kind of looking at everything. And that definitely wasted some of my time.
Thank you. That's important. And we talk about that. And I was pulling up a specific slide that we have on job search. So as you're starting to think about and look at different opportunities, I wanted just to quickly just show you, as you are developing and are you starting your internship or job search, you may have seen this graph that we use to present on different career center presentations. And it's really, we look at, as you're looking at that job target, you want to think about the industry, you want to think about the geographic location that you're able to move to, you want to think about what type of organizations you're looking at, as well as occupational titles. And there are different ways to do that. And sometimes things are going to pan out by looking at one specific, but theory shows us that that ideal combination is going to happen here in that garnet circle, where everything's going to meet. And when we're able to be specific, when we're able to share that, then we are able to be more successful and use our time and use your resources more efficiently. And so as you're also connecting with employers, with mentors, I love hearing all of this. Then you're able to then share with them what you're looking for. When you talk to mentors, recruiters, and employers, if you approach them and you say, I am open to anything, that doesn't really show that you have a focus, or well, it's okay that you may be open to different opportunities. It's not helping employers or recruiters then direct you into the right place or the different opportunities that they may have. And it can seem like you don't have a specific focus on that. So that, thank you for bringing mentors and talking about sort of that niche. And we have a phenomenal program called Professional Mentors, which I have shown before. I'm happy to connect on that. I'll drop the link in a minute, but it allows you, FSU students and alumni, to connect with employers, with alumni of the university, as well as friends of the university. And you can search by your major, by your industries, and by different keyword searches in there, even including international students as well. As we my last question for the group today, for the panelists today, is any final, you've given us phenomenal information, but I also want to give some time to answer some questions from the audience. And so any final advice to those starting their internship search or job search? What is one thing, any final advice that you want to share that they must be doing?
At least as a final advice, consistency, because ultimately, like many other things in life, finding a job is a numbers game. I mean, you have 0% probability of not getting anything if you don't apply to anything. Uh, I think I think that is the only absolute fixed thing when it comes to getting a job in the job market. Apply as much as you can, as much as you can. Like, for example, just think of all the time that you can waste watching the new Netflix series that could be actually so useful, that could be so. I mean, applying, especially with like through the online medium, to just get it in a company's website, can change your life. In the end, like those are decisions that can change your life, and that takes no time to anyone. Yeah, certainly apply a lot. If you don't apply, then things are not gonna be as easy. You're not gonna have as many options. Yeah, like if you're gonna leave with one advice from me from this talk is apply a lot. If you think you apply a lot, then apply twice more.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to what Chris says. I believe network, 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 because you'll never go wrong with that. You'll only get your network becomes even stronger. So, for example, if today you have a fabulous job, you can have an even fabulous job tomorrow. So it's all about having those networks, and just having those network connections in LinkedIn is not good enough. Keep in touch with them at a regular basis. So once we get networks, we like, okay, we forget them, our job's done. That's not how it is. Network is about maintaining those connections, not only for a purpose, but it also enhances your relationships with your connections. So that's one thing. The second is use all possible job searches. Don't limit yourself to just LinkedIn or Indeed or Glassdoor. Use every possible job search that is available for the job that you're looking for. Thirdly, I'll say have a profile if you can, and make your profile as distinct as possible. There are various ways you can make a profile. Just Google out there, but a profile is always very helpful. Thirdly, if once you get an interview, and say within 24 hours of that interview, send a thank you email to the person who interviewed you. And it may be that you weren't even selected for that interview. That's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be selected for every possible interview. But say thank you to them, and if they can provide you feedback, ask them for it, request them for it. That would be great, because you know where you can enhance your skills further on. And I'll lastly say it's okay not to know everything. You don't need to know everything at one go. You don't need to have 100 jobs in hand or 100 job letters in hand. all you need is just one job for your internship, and that's a good start. That's a foot in the door.
Chris,
I
I think
agree.
when Tammy mentioned thank you notes, you got really excited about that.
Like I think that that makes a huge difference. It's true. It's true. Like I think that message was important to actually to actually follow people, especially recruiters. You just never know. Like recruiters tend to know too many other recruiters who and for them it's just an email of sending and I have friends who have gotten jobs this way. So they failed they failed the interview round for that company, but the recruiter liked them and she's like, oh, she forwards an email and you sent an email to another recruiter. Oh, this is a good guy. He only failed our interview because of this. I think you guys should consider him. And yep, that's it. True, true.
Awesome. Maya,
I agree completely with Chris and with Tammy. Um, those are all really good points. I think the last thing, and what was really important for me, is to do your best quality work and be as professional within your department and around your professors as possible, because you never know if they have connections, if they're working with people who work at firms that you could be interested in, and they're also probably going to be your references. And you need great references to secure your job, most likely. So definitely be aware of how you behave while at school.
excellent. Thank you. I want to, at a request from one of the participants today, if I can ask our panelists, Chris, Tammy, and Maya, to think about that website, one website. I know you use many ones and you're recommending many of them. Don't forget professional association websites as well provide a great database for opportunities. But if I could have you, instead of just sharing it, just type it in on the chat to everybody, a website that was very pivotal that you recommend that they're using for their job search opportunities. And so while they do that, I included Knoll Network, which is FSU's jobs and internship database. So any employer that we recruit, that we work with, we ask them to post those opportunities there, and you can find off-campus as well as on-campus opportunities. Jared, since we have, oh, I'm so sorry, Maya, I cut you off. Did I cut you off, Maya?
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Okay. Perfect. Jared, are there any questions that we need to follow up or that we need to ask our panelists before we come to the end of our presentation today?
I don't have any that were sent to me throughout the panel. No, I don't have any that were sent to me. I don't. Did you have any?
Yes, I do have one here. And I think this was directed towards Chris when he was talking about approaching recruiters. And so how do you suggest participants or students or job seekers approach recruiters? Sometimes being too direct doesn't work, not being direct doesn't work. Did you find that right combination, or any thoughts on what the right approach is to different recruiters?
At least I think, in my opinion, I think cold emailing can be very effective. But the thing is that it only gets effective if you send it to like 100 or 200 people. Like I think you'd be surprised with how much people are used to opening their emails. So it may be the case where at least someone will just open their inbox like just to know what the mail is about, even though they might not be interested. And with for example, like what I usually do when I send an email, I not only send I send my non-official transcripts, I send my resume, I send a salutation, I write their name in the email, and I try to and well, to be honest, I think most people have like generic templates of hi company X, you are the best company that I would love to work for. X and this, and I think improving that and just sending it to many recruiters can work. The other, which I guess feels more humane, is through LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn to me it really has helped me. It has helped me a lot to just say hi, basically tell them, what I actually want and how, because ultimately the job of a recruiter is to help the company hire hire talent that is a good fit for them. So for you to already tell them straight why I am a good fit for you, I think it's very powerful. You just never know.
Thank you. And so one of the links that Laura dropped on the chat as well is, and I want to give a 2-minute, and Laura knows that I can give a 2-minute quick overview on this. It's Going Global. Going Global, it's a database where you can find employers who are hiring for different opportunities, but it also has a set of different career guides for different countries if you're getting ready to explore outside of the United States. But it also includes a database of H-1B visas, companies who have sponsored H-1B visas. So if you have not used that, this will be a very extremely helpful site. So I'm going to share my screen very quickly. Let me make sure. And so you access that through secure apps, and I'm not able. So if you go to my.fsu.edu, you log in, and on the left-hand side corner, you're going to see a menu. And so when you see career development, you click on it, and then the first link under career development is going to be Going Global. And so it will take.
Lee, you're not sharing your screen. Oh, there we go.
Yes, yes.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
No problem. And so, yeah, it had my Ample ID in there, so I realized that I needed to wait until this. Thank you, Laura. And so it's going to take you to this website. It's called Going Global. It's a subscription-based website that we pay for students. So it's included for you all to access. And you will know that you're in the system because you will see our logo at the top right-hand side of the screen. And in here, you can click, you can look at jobs and internships. As I mentioned, most of these job search engines, you're going to be able to look at opportunities from keywords with occupation, etc. But it also shows an H-1B visa directory. So if, for example, you are looking at engineering opportunities and you type engineering, this specific one came with aerospace. It will look at the different job titles. It will look at the occupation, the company that hired them, the location, as well as sort of the salary, as well as what year they were hired. And so we love to see 2020 because, as we know, this year posed some additional challenges to the job search. And there are many other resources that the Career Center and your career liaison can talk to you about this, but this is part of the job search strategy. And so as I hear today, our wonderful panelists, I hear being persistent is important, doing your homework, not hesitating to reach out via LinkedIn. And I think it was Maya who included LinkedIn in there. I think it's an underutilized tool for job search in general. So I love that, sending tailored messages as well as thank you notes for interviewers. I love that. So I will ask, as we have a few more minutes, if you just want to share with others in the group, if you just want to either unmute yourself or just type it in the chat. What is one thing that you took away from today's presentation? I invite you to type it in to share maybe something that you may include doing or something that you did not know was part or a strategy when job searching or looking for internships as well. Perfect. One last question that I see here, Laura sent me is, how should I approach a recruiter via LinkedIn? Let's assume I do not know the person nor no one from the company. And so with that, recruiters are on LinkedIn, and if they have that role, they are very used to what could be considered cold calling or, reaching out just to express your interest in the company, letting them know that you're interested. I will definitely recommend that you do your research so your message is tailored towards the positions that you're interested in applying, and sending a message that way. A cool thing that LinkedIn allows you to do is to find other FSU alumni or others who attended the same institution that you did, or even very specific demographics. So you can find out if there's any other Knowles that work there that can do that warm introduction as well. I see Chris continues to send in some amazing links as well. Tammy, Chris, Maya, any final thoughts for us or the group?
Well, I'll just like to say, reach out to firstly, since you're still in college, reach out to the first people that you come in contact with, and that's your faculty, the staff, because for me, they've been helpful and very, very supportive since day one. So that's your first point of contact. Always stay in touch with them, and at any point in life, they will always support you no matter what. And this is what I believe from day one, from the faculty and the staff that I've met in FSU. They'll be very supportive, all along the way, even after you've graduated. So so just reach out, and never hesitate to reach out to them, because they're always there for you. So don't hesitate.
So I forgot a good point that I think was also helpful for me, and I think it will be for almost everyone at this call. So I think one of the questions that I received for the panel was, what would I advise someone in the first semester to do? And I think uh, uh, joining some type of student association can always be very helpful. I think that's a good place where you'll meet lots of people who may already have the type of experiences that you like to have for yourself. And for example, in the Faculty of Computer Science, there's one called ACM, in which they basically do all many types of tech events, and they bring companies for special sessions, for special recruiting sessions. I know a very good friend of mine got his job through the ISC, which is it's like an association of industrial engineers. Like I think just being, I think joining student association is also very helpful. Like you never know. Like for example, there's also some good honor societies, or if there's or whatever specific association exists for your major. I think you'll meet lots of interesting people there.
Thank you. Go ahead, Maya.
I would just add, I think it's important to talk to the students in your program who are a year ahead of you, or even maybe two, and keep in touch with them after they graduate, just to see what opportunities exist at their companies. Because I currently work with two people who graduated in the year ahead of me, and they're great contacts to have now at work, but also they let me know about the job opportunity as well.
Excellent. I think that's a wonderful way to wrap up our panel today. I want to once again thank you, Chris, Tammy, and Maya. It's been wonderful to have you. You were phenomenal. We're so proud of everything you have accomplished, but also thank you for giving back to your university and saying yes when Jared sent you an email and say, hey, we have this, would you like to participate? I have learned so much from your journey. I will definitely appreciate, use some of the things that you shared today to share with other students as well. You are phenomenal. Thank you. And thank you all for spending your evening with us today.